Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Today we are doing some Mono-red Stompy. This is a deck that is doing pretty well in Legacy at the moment. I think it's probably the number 2-ish deck in the format right now, if we're looking at top 8 placings, so it's having a pretty good time. And the current builds are running Urza Saga because there was a rule change that allowed you to have Urza Saga in play with Magus of the Moon or Blood Moon, and it sticks around and churns out tokens as long as it was on the second chapter when you played your Moon effect. So, this particular build is going heavily on the moons. This is a relatively stock-looking list. So we have 4 Magus of the Moons and 4 Blood Moons that we're trying to power out as early as turn 1 by using Simian Spirit Guide and Chrome Mox alongside one of our Soul Lands. That is the general aim of the game. We can just shut down the game on turn 1, or we can play a big value piece like Fable and Mirror Breaker and get this ticking up. And then this gets us some pretty nice value, can dig us into the pieces we need for the specific matchup, and then we can drop the One Ring at some point and just outcard advantage basically everyone. We've got another prison piece in the form of Chalice of the Void to stop 1-drops. And then we just got a nice top end of Fury and Pyrogoyf to clean out creatures. And we do have some Sundering Eruptions here and Shatterskull Smashings, which we can put under our Chrome Mox, but sometimes just blowing up your opponent's land is really good. If they've got one basic underneath, like your Blood Moon, and you blow it up with the Sundering Eruption, it's really good, which is why you tend to see 4 Sundering Eruption and only 2 Shatterskull Smashings these days. We also have Broadside Bombardiers, which can throw around any excess stuff we have to deal damage and just control the board. Our Urza Saga package is very small. We have 1 piece of Graveyard Hate, we have a Lavaspur Boots to make our guys go fast, and that's it. Obviously, we can get Chrome Moxes if we need them as well. Sideboard-wise, very, very clean-looking sideboard here. We have 4 Faerie Macabre for Graveyard matchups, 4 Null Rods for like the Mystic Forge style matchups. Then we got some Fiery Confluence, which can take out little creatures, it can blow up artifacts, it can dome our opponent for a bunch. And then we have Dead and Gone, which can take out some scary creatures that enter play. It just gives us a bit more board control if we need it. Well, that, lovely people, is the deck we're playing today. We're going to be stomping people, hopefully. So like, subscribe, and if you want to see my videos early, just $1 a month to become a member. You can help the channel out and it doesn't really cost you very much. And I appreciate each and every one of you who chooses to do that. Plugs over and done with. Let's start jamming. If you are looking to buy some Magic cards, not only does 3-for-1 Trading have a wonderful online store linked in the description of this video, but they will also have booths at upcoming events. MagicCon Atlanta from the 26th to 28th of September, Eternal Weekend Pittsburgh from the 9th to the 12th of October, and Spiel 25 in Essen from the 23rd to the 26th of October. Whether you're looking to sell off cards you don't need or add more to your collection, 3-for-1 Trading has got you covered. Alright, what does our hand do? We can make a Saga and then make a Magus of the Moon on turn 2 and just try and ride that to victory. We'll give it a whirl. I'm very out of my comfort zone playing a deck that looks like this, I think. Especially when we have so many colourless lands in our deck. Ancient Den. Okay, our opponent's on something spicy. Is this going to be like Hammer Time? Haven't seen that for ages. Lavaspur Boots. Fervent Champion. Sure, we're getting attacked for 1 this turn. Or 2, in fact. This only pumps other knights, right? Another target attacking knight. Yeah, so we're going to take... Do I believe our opponent's going to have access to Wastelands? Possibly. I think we still just go for the turn 1 Saga, turn 2 Magus, and then just try and pump out a bunch of constructs. It goes away, it's too tight for the purposes of Pyrogoyf, which isn't the worst. We're not really going to shut our opponent off of colours with this Magus because they have the Mox Opal. And they're also a red deck, so not necessarily going to be shutting huge amounts of anything. What is this? At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of auras and equipments you control to target permanent or player. Okay? It is a Hammer Time deck. So they're going to equip the Lavaspur Boots to this. It's not a knight, so they're not going to get any pumps on this. But we might be dead next turn, which is a little spooky. So we're taking 4 this turn. Do we have time to even play the Magus here? Or do we have to, like... I guess we can't really jam a Pyrogoyf for any value. Alright, so we get the Magus in. We have red, but we can't do anything with red. We can block this Fervent Champion, but if our opponent just plays Hammer, we're in trouble here. But maybe they don't have anything good. Alright, there's Colossus Hammer. That's pretty good. So at the beginning of combat, this gets attached to something. This has no trample, this has no trample. So we can chump block. Why do they not attach the... Oh no, they're going to... It's the beginning of combat. Okay, they just paid to move this one across. And it doesn't cost as much because of the equip. Yeah, this abilities. This is 12, 13, 14. So that is lethal. So we do have to block here. There is no way that we can beat a 12-12 guy with our deck. It's just not equipped to do that sort of thing. Yeah, I just don't know how we can ever beat this 12-12. We don't have anything main deck that's going to help us here. Our opponent's on such a high life total that we're not going to be able to race or do anything. Our opponent's deck is sweet though. Yeah, putting the ward back on this makes a lot of sense. Let's draw a card and almost certainly scoop the game. Yeah, we're not playing this game against a 12 power guy. Our deck can't beat that. Now, we do have access to Fiery Confluence, which can beat that. The Null Rod's not going to work that well. We can shut off a bunch of their lands, maybe. But they've got this guy that equips stuff without having to pay the equip cost, and I imagine it's not alone in that. So we can have like these things, and maybe we just take out the Chalice, just have more removal. The Blood Moons seem pretty bad here as well. Let's take these out. We don't need the Soul Guide Lantern either. So I guess we get to keep another Blood Moon in for red cards for our Chrome Mox and things. Okay, so like the actual dead side of this is useful, so that's why we're not going to keep the Chalices in. Now sure, we could play a Chalice on one and it might be good, but our opponent's got a whole bunch of different mana values. Like we saw a 1-drop, we saw 0-drop, we saw a 3-drop. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. Turn 1, Magus of the Moon is not very exciting. We kind of need it to make our mana work. Can we even keep this? Like, this is Magus of the Moon into lots of dead gons, and maybe we'll draw some land at some point, and that's fine. But if we need to draw 2 lands for this to actually do anything. I think we have to mulligan. Well, this hand has a different problem, but I think we keep it. Put back a city here. Turn 2, the One Ring, is basically a thing that one of the best decks in the format is built around in the form of the Carnforge deck, so maybe it will be good for us too. And we should be able to find red mana because the One Ring kind of papers over all the cracks. Wasteland. Alright, we're going to play this game. That's fine. This gives us more turns to naturally draw red mana. Or not, that's also fine. Okay. Another Wasteland. You've got it, opponent. So, this game has changed a little bit. So we have an Urza Saga. We can make the One Ring next turn anyway, which is probably the best thing we should be doing, because the card just automatically wins games. Have we got the third Wasteland? No Wasteland. We get to keep our Urza Saga. Although we're not really going to be getting constructs from it. A Lotus Petal from our opponent. Pure Steel Paladin, a classic. Just another way to equip stuff for free. Playing the One Ring whilst we're at 20 life is a pretty good feeling. That's a lot of cards that we can bank. And we have another One Ring for later. So this can also become stuff that we get to throw at our opponents, because we have the Broadside Bombardier. We can chuck a One Ring. Instead of having to just replace it, we can actually get some value out of getting rid of it. We don't have any red mana yet, and we do have a City of Traitors that is going to die soon, but we can happily replace... what is this? Attach target equipment you control to this creature, activate energy as sorcery. Alright, I very much see what our opponent's doing here. Playing lots of cards that I've never seen before, but instantly understand. But the One Ring means that the kind of loss of City of Traitors and things shouldn't matter very much. So, do I want a construct here? I guess we draw a card first. Or draw 2 cards first. So we can go make a construct and then shoot one of these. That's fine. And then we tutor for... I think it's just a Chrome Mox here. And I think we will imprint this Sundering Eruption. And then I can either play a Broadside Bombardiers or hold up 2 dead gons. I think I'm just going to hold up 2 dead gons here. Yep, goodbye City of Traitors. So I think we're in a pretty solid position right now. We have the biggest creature. Obviously that can change if they just slam a giant hammer. They must have Urza Saga to tutor for hammers in their deck as well. A Braid. Right, I will destroy your Kazul's Toll Collector then. This is going to shrink our construct token as well. And we're braiding our construct. Sure. I'll just kill that guy. We're all down to not a lot of stuff, but I have the One Ring, so we should be A-okay here. Draw some cards. Let's attack with the Broadside Bombardiers. And then we can fling the One Ring next turn. We can also fling a Fury. Like, we can probably just kill our opponent next turn, right? This is 6. This is 7. That's already lethal, excluding the Broadside Bombardiers damage. Our opponent is commiserating about the design of the One Ring. And I agree. I think it is... I think the Lord of the Rings set, generally speaking, is really well designed. But the One Ring is an absolute aberration of design. Because it's a legendary artifact that wants you to have more copies of it. It's just a massive flavor fail. And obviously it plays horribly because it's just too powerful. Okay, so let's play this one out. Oh, we should have drawn with the Wandering first, really, shouldn't we? Okay, let's exile this guy. Oh, I've done this wrong, haven't I? Whoops. Alright, then we'll just do this Fury. Fling the Fury, our opponent. Yeah. I was too busy thinking about other things there. Alright. Yeah, we just go in again. We just have lots of removal. We can shoot something and then do some Blood Moon stuff. Maybe get this in. I think this is acceptable but not exciting. We'll try it. Oh, a Leyline Axe. And Lavaspur Boots. There's some equipments over there. Hopefully we can blow them up at some point. So we can go Saga into Blood Moon. That seems okay. Ancient Tomb from our opponent. And a Lotus Petal. Not many cards left over there. If they don't play a threat this turn, then I'll feel very, very good about this game. If they do play a threat, then maybe we have to alter the way we're doing things. Stoneforge Mystic. Is this just going to get a Cauldron, or is it going to get the big one? It's the hammer. And they're playing the hammer. Okay, so this actually works out quite well for us. So we can go Ancient Tomb, tap this for 2, play the Blood Moon, and then we have red mana off of this mountain to dead and gone something that gets equipped with something spooky. So this is just going to get attached with everything. So as soon as they're probably going to put the Lavaspur Boots on it first, and then we can dead this. And then we can start cranking out the friends. They can't play anything like a Pure Steel Paladin here. I'm happy to take 1 damage here. Simian Spirit Guide. We could Fiery Confluence and blow up all of their artifacts. We don't need to do that yet. We're just equipping a Leyline Axe to something. Okay, they're equipping the Lavaspur Boots to their Stoneforge Mystic. So they could have equipped the Leyline Axe and had more. Okay, so they're putting another Lavaspur Boots on it. Understood. They could have just equipped the Leyline Axe and got in for 1 more damage here. But they're trying to make their threat resilient. Now, we can make a 1-1 here. I'm not going to block with the 1-1 because it will be a 3-3 next turn. That's way better. Make a friend. I guess we play out our land. So we could blow up a bunch of their things here. We could just dead and gone this. We could just keep cranking out the constructs. So we'd have to pay 3 to kill this. I think we just hold up the things we have. So they can equip this next turn. Makes a guy, what? A 4 power guy, so it's going to be hitting for 8. That's a little bit spooky, isn't it? So maybe we just attack with our little guy. And then we can Fiery Confluence. So we can deal 1 damage to each creature twice. And then we can destroy target artifact. So which artifact am I more scared of here? It's probably the hammer. I think that's the one we're going to struggle to deal with. And then we can just go back to making constructs and we can get there. A Mox Opal, not really what our opponent needs. Although it might be, because it gives them a white mana source. Okay, maybe it is what they need. So it's just another Stoneforge. It is another Stoneforge. Now they can equip this and bash us for 3. They got a Colossus Hammer. So they find a way of sticking the hammer on something. That could be spooky. I guess we probably just take some damage from this over a couple of turns and maybe just flush out some more constructs. But we can see what we draw because we can change things dramatically. Not great. Is it better to have a Chrome Mox in? No, I think we're better off just to play the Fisher here. So we can make a guy and then we have 2 mana left over for dead and gone, and we can pay the cost on this if we want to kill this, and we still get to make our guy because of the Simian Spirit Guide we have. So we could Chrome Mox and put the Simian Spirit Guide in. That's probably better actually, but I'm just thinking about things I want to keep around to throw. This also pumps our constructs, so yeah, I think it was just a less than optimal situation. So we've dealt with their guy. They spent their mana this turn. We do get to make a construct here. And there's the Colossus Hammer we knew about. Yeah, we should have just made the Chrome Mox here. That was not optimal play from me at all there. Now, is it going to matter is a different question. We're going to save this Pyrogoyf and use it as removal. But now we're in the inevitable Urza Saga value zone. We're going to hold this Chrome Mox now. We might want it for mana, potentially. Just give it Trample? No. Are we just dead? We can trample us every turn, right? This doesn't give it Trample. This doesn't give it Trample. Okay, so we're committed to chomping this every turn, otherwise we die. Cool. Oh no, it does get trampled from the leyline axe, right? Oh wow, we are very dead here. Yeah, there's no point blocking this because of the trample. We just take a million billion damage. GG's opponent. I didn't play very well, but I don't think it mattered. Interesting. Okay, let's go to round 2. What does our hand do? We can make a turn 1 Fable. That's pretty good. Sure, I'll do that. It's going to cost us a lot of cards, but it's a very powerful thing to be doing, and I think that's fine. If they Force of Will this, it can be very annoying because we spent 3 cards on it, but this gains us that value back pretty quickly because we start making treasures and all sorts. Treasures will also pump our eventual Urza Saga if that's what we're doing. Kozilek's Command. So our opponent could be doing Eldrazi stuff, they could be doing Mystic Forge. Yes, I guess we loot here. I quite like a soul land. I'm going to just bin off 1 mountain, I think. Not a soul land. I believe in the power of drawing lands in our deck. We have so much mana, it's like half mana. Like, I didn't want to really bin off the Blood Moon because if our opponent is playing Eldrazi, having the Blood Moon in play is going to be really good. We can stop them casting any colourless spells. Urza's Tower, okay. We can stop them getting lots of mana though. Can we draw a mana source this turn? That'd be great. We did not draw the mana source, so we are kind of just twiddling our thumbs here. Throwing away that mountain is costing us here. But we do get to deploy a Mox next turn, which can then give us the mana to cast the Blood Moon. Kozilek's Command. And just making a guy and drawing a card. Soporific Springs. Okay, so this is the blue build. Okay, Chalice for 0. Right, so we'll float some mana off of this. Tishana's Tidebinder. So we're not going to get the Urza Saga ability. Can I Blood Moon? We can Blood Moon. Okay, do I need to kill this now? I think we can just take a turn and then worry about it. So our opponent can't cast their blue spells. They can't cast the actual colourless spells because they only have 1 Eldrazi spawn, so that's no Kozilek's Command, but they can cast the generic mana spells. They're valuing their Tidebinder here. Ancient Tomb. Let's cast our Broadside. So they can double block this and trade the Tidebinder for the Bombardiers. Or we could just wait a turn and then we can start copying the Broadside Bombardiers. And then our opponent's in a bit of trouble. Alternatively, we can play a Fury, copy Fury, attack for lethal. Which seems like a good thing to be doing. At least I was right to keep the Blood Moon. And we might make our way out of this game. Even though we stumbled on land for a turn. Let's get this Fury in. Alright, they're scooping. Because what we do is we copy this. We blow their stuff up. We attack with the Fury, which is 6 damage. And then the Broadside Bombardiers, which is another 2 damage. Then we fling the Fury and they're dead. Okay. So, what do we want for this matchup? Do we want Fiery Confluence stuff? I don't think we want these Chalices. So we can at least replace those with some Fiery Confluence. So Null Rod is a weird one here because it hurts us as well as them. I don't think we need the Soul Guard Lantern. We could just have like a couple of like Dead and Gones because they are a One Ring deck, but so are we. And we're also a Chrome Mox deck, whereas they're not really playing many other artifacts. So I think we end up worse off by playing the Null Rods than our opponent would. So I think we're going to leave it like this. Well, we've established that Blood Moon is a very powerful thing to be doing against our opponent, which makes me want to play this. We also have the ability to do some Sundering Eruption as well. So I think we keep this one. A basic island. That makes our Blood Moon worse. But our Blood Moon is still pretty good. I think we probably play the one that attacks. Let's play this out. And I think we put the Spirit Guide underneath it. Let's have the one that attacks, please. Dismember? Yeah, it is a Dismember. Sure. But we have a Blood Moon as well. Let's try a Blood Moon. Got Force of Will over there. It's on the stack for quite a while, so I suspect that they do have a Force. It's a Force of Negation. Okay. Khan the Great Creator. Not the best. If they minus this, we can kill it with our Bombardiers, though. We're going to lose a City of Traitors this turn. So we can attack this and we can throw the Chrome Mox at it. Alright, they're just going to blow it up, so we don't get to do that. That's annoying. I'm going to pay the life, obviously. Goodbye, City of Traitors. Hello, Broadside Bombardiers. So this has to attack the Khan. We don't have anything to throw, unfortunately. But we can finish it next turn. We can attack and throw a Broadside Bombardiers at it. We can attack with 2 Bombardiers and keep it low. Depends what they want to do with its minus ability. They could put something like a ensnaring bridge into play. That could be pretty annoying, and that might buy them enough time to get the lattice out and lock us out permanently. Stock up. Pretty solid. I haven't made a land drop yet. So probably looking for something like playing a Nexus to then supercharge this tower so they can dump a bunch of stuff out. Okay, so plus the Khan with no targets. The One Ring. Not the best right now. Do I get to go to attacks? No, they're Force of Willing, our little friend. Alright, we'll attack the Khan again. Play our tap land and pass. I think our opponent's going to have this one. Alright, it's time to minus the Khan. This is probably ensnaring bridge time. We did board in our artifact destruction. There it is. So they need to play one more card out of their hand and the bridge is off. Okay, they play the Cloud Post. So the bridge is turning off our attacks. Another Bombardiers or a One Ring that we can't use. Not great, but we need to just put these into play so that if our opponent ever has too many cards, then they lose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they can play a Glim Post, gain some life. They can't get the lattice yet. We can draw the Fiery Confluence and just blow up the bridge and dome our opponent, and that probably wins the game for us. So 4 damage, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, so Fiery Confluence is lethal here. Do I play out this One Ring? There's more material on the board. I think that makes sense. If we ever get to attack, we're going to have a good time. It doesn't feel like a matchup we care that much about the fog here. So I'm okay to just play this out while we can. Now we almost have lethal damage just from the things we can throw. So we can throw a Bombardiers and a One Ring. But we just need to attack. Playing a Nexus. They keep playing out lands. They're just plussing the Khan. Not a Fiery Confluence. I will deploy another friend though. Opponent's got another land. They're getting an artifact from outside the game. So this is going to be the Magus and Lattice, I would imagine. I think playing out the Spirit Guide might have been a mistake there, because this is one of the few things that you can do underneath the Khan is exile Spirit Guides. So they play this out, okay. And then at any moment when they draw a card that they can't cast, but what card would they not be able to cast here? Tidebinder. Yeah, I think we're probably just going to lose this one, and it's not going to be very fun watching me slowly dither around underneath this Khan. Maybe we keep the Spirit Guide in hand, but we need so many of them to do anything. Honestly, I think I'm fine with how I sideboarded here. I don't think I want the Null Rod. We're on the play. What are we doing here? Turn 1 Fable. Yeah, that seems like a good way to start a game of Magic the Gathering. I think I will put the Dead Gone underneath this Chrome Mox. So a pretty good Force of Will target. And there is the Force of Will. Okay, so we got 2 different things in graveyards for Pyrogoyf. We've got 2, 3. I could just start doing that. Or I could deploy this Magus and make our opponent unhappy. You unhappy there, opponent? Now we know they have Dismembers in their deck. So it's not like this is just lights out for them. But it is going to be annoying, hopefully. Okay, they just played a Glen Post and passed. Okay, I'm going to play a Lavaspur Boots. I'm going to equip the Lavaspur Boots. We got the Dismember. I'm just going to put another card type in for the purposes of our Pyrogoyf next turn. So we might be able to do some hasty Pyrogoyf action next turn. But our opponents had the 2 specific answers they needed for the 2 things we did, which is not great for us. And if they have a Khan to stop any sort of One Ring action, then that can really ruin us as well. No play here. This feels like a... Ooh, Fail the Mirror Break is good though. I'll take... Feels like our opponent might have access to a Kozilek's Command here. So we can make the Fable token have haste here with this Lavaspur Boots. Unless they Kozilek's Command it right now. Okay, command for 2. Are they going to make guys or are they going to draw a card? It is the K command. And they make guys. So they've got some big plays that they want to make. So we've got what? Kindred, Instant, Enchantment, Creature. So we've got 4 types for our little Pyrogoyf. Would like to be able to play and equip it in the same turn. So missed on land. They're not playing anything out. Interesting. I'm going to discard some cards here. Yes, I think I'm going to get rid of this Fury. Sundering Eruption. Okay, I will play this as a Saga. I would like a Pyrogoyf, please. So we can dome our opponent's face, and then we can give it boots and let it run in. Unless we want to dome one of these spawns. Because our opponent is missing land drops. Yeah, I think we take out one of the spawns, actually. One of them was probably going to be blocking us anyway. Alright, we're doing a Kozlet's command to kill our guy anyway. So we do miss 4 damage by not going at the face there. If they don't have the Kozlet's command and we can restrict our opponent's mana, that's really good. Things just not really going our way. Like, we could have just intuited that our opponent had the Kozlet's command and gone for the 4 damage. How is our Blood Moon deck losing to the Cloudpost deck? That feels very worrying for us. Ugin, Eye of Storms. We are dead to that. We're not going to beat that, let's be honest. Yeah, it doesn't feel like our deck matches up very well into this, really. Maybe we could sequence slightly differently. I'm not sure. Let's go to round 3. Once again, we have one of those hands where our City of Traitors can absolutely ruin us. I think we keep it. We do have a threat in the form of Fury. Okay. I think I play this one out and pay 3 life. And then we play out the Chrome Mox. We'll be imprinting here. I think it's the Fury. Or it could be the Sundering Eruption, actually. And we're going to go for this. This is going to shut off one of our spells. But if our opponent is trying to do Entomb Reanimate, this does shut that off. But they didn't have a 1-drop, and they didn't have any counter magic that they could point at this. Curious what is going on over there. Right, let's pay 3 life. We didn't actually have to pay the 3 life there. We could have played the City of Traitors. But then if it doesn't resolve, then we end up losing our land and makes Fury harder to cast. So I think taking the 3 life so that we're more reliable in casting Fury makes the most sense. Yep, they're going to fetch. Turning the dust into our Chalice. This might just be to fill up the graveyard. But you could do that at any point with the swamp. So uncertain quite as to why that happened when it did. Okay, so I can play out this mountain. So now we don't get to cast a Fury because we have the Blood Moon in play. But if it didn't work, then we had the Blood Moon without having to lose a land. And I don't feel like the life is the biggest deal here. Alright, Shoulder's Edict. Cling to Dust, Shoulder's Edict. This feels like a Grixis deck. It could be like flex slots in a Dimir Tempo deck though. Spirit Guide. Would I like to just get this Fury in, or are we just going to play this as a bit of removal bait and just assume that at some point we're going to draw into the next land? I think we're actually just going to play the Simian Spirit Guide here. Because if we can use the Fury to kill something, that ends up being a lot better for us. And we do need to win this game, so putting some pressure on here whilst also being able to do some more pressure the next turn is interesting. However, what's more interesting is our opponent casting Tainted Pact. So our opponent's on a singleton deck. This is going to rip all the way through until they find either an answer for what's in play or their win condition. So there's a Thassa's Oracle, they've gone over it. They put an island into their hand. Not really how they want to be using their Tainted Pact. Alright, our opponent is doing something very cool. Let's attack with our guy. They might spend some removal on it. They did not. Let us play the Pyrogoyf and try and dome our opponent for 3 here. A Brain Surge. Shuffling is going to be difficult when fetch lands are switched off. To the dome for 3. Pieces of the Puzzle. So this is like stuck up by a different name. It only finds you instants or sorceries. And it is revealed. But it puts the others into the graveyard. So Drown in the Lock and Lorien Revealed. They probably only have the 1 island. So if we can blow up this island, they got nothing going on. Alright, I'll play out the Saga. I will attack for 6. I'll put a lethal threat into play, I think. Alright, let's cycling this Lorien Revealed. Oh, they have a snow-covered island. That makes sense. That's just good deck building right there. Can our opponent win this turn? If they have the Thassa's Oracle in hand and have a Tainted Pact, they can probably win. These decks usually run 2 Thassa's Oracle. Quick Study. Okay, just drawing some cards. Alright, we managed to get the game. Our opponent is doing some interesting things over there. We've seen quite a lot of their deck. None of our sideboard actually does anything, which is kind of annoying. I guess we just send back the deck as is. Like, we could swap a Soulguide Lantern for a Fiery Confluence, but our opponent might have some kind of Unearth line built in their deck as well, and this does cantrip, so I think we're going to keep it. Yep, just go back in again. Chalice 1 or Blood Moon on turn 1. Sure, we'll see what our opponent plays for their first land, and then we can make a decision. Okay, that makes you want to play the Blood Moon out. I'm not a big lover of finding another Chrome Mox at this stage. Here is my Magus of the Moon. There is a Brainstorm looking for action. Next turn we play the Chalice, and then hopefully turn after we can just One Ring our way to victory. Alright, they found a Force. Let's play the Chalice first, because this could somehow stop removal spells that our opponent might have access to. And if they have a Daze, they have one in their entire deck. Spell Snare. You got it. Attack. I think I'm going to play as Chrome Mox and fling it. Okay, so now we're going to be in the zone of One Ring. So that gets them a basic swamp here. Uncovered clues. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Reveal made up to 2 instant or sorcery cards. Thoughtseize and Hydroblast. Hydroblast is a pretty good one. They only have 1 Hydroblast in their deck though. If we play this like this, then we don't take damage from our Ancient Tomb this turn. We might find a Chalice. Right, we're in. I'm not going to throw my One Ring or my Chrome Mox. We should be able to run away with the game with this One Ring, but our opponent does have a card that says you win the game on it. So if they can assemble that, then they'll get us. Goodbye Broadside Bombardiers, but we should be able to draw lots of action because we have access to the One Ring. Take 1 from it. Fable's pretty good. What else have you got for us, deck? Magus of the Moon, also pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but then we don't get to cast both anyway. Is it the Magus? It's more important. Or the Fable. I'm trying to shut off my opponent's colours here. So knowing about this Thoughtseize, we could just play this Chrome Mox and imprint this Fable. But if our opponent's going to spend their black mana this turn Thoughtseizing us, I don't really mind if they take the Fable. That still leaves us the Chrome Mox, which could be flung later by a Broadside or be more mana if we need it to be. Clues are something they can crack underneath a Blood Moon and dig their way towards the Lorien Revealed or their 2 basic lands. Alright, they've just had enough of our nonsense, and I don't blame them. We finally managed to put a win on the board. And that was a 2-0. All the other ones have been 1-2, so we've been competitive. Let's go to round number 4. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. It's an interesting hand, isn't it? I think I can keep this one. Like, we do have a lot of Urza Saga gaming to be had here. Now, Urza Saga isn't as good as it used to be. Like, once upon a time, you used to be able to just raise, like, ride an Urza Saga and just raise a big army from it and smash your opponent down. But people have gotten used to playing against it now, and obviously the format's gotten a bit more powerful. Vault of Whispers. Thoughtseize. Alright, so they could take our Simian Spirit Guide here. That's pretty solid. We're definitely playing out the Saga so we can work towards either Chrome Mox or Soulguide Lantern, because our opponent is probably running like a Beseech deck that has access to Gaia's Will off of the Beseech the Mirror lines. So we need to be aware of that. Okay, let's get our Saga ticking. There's not really any fair decks running Vault of Whispers. Gone are the days of people running Tezzeret Agent at Bolus. Mox Opal, sure. Wishclaw Talisman, so the Mox Opal's online. I don't think they're going this turn, they're going next turn. Oh, are they going this turn? No, they're duressing us as well. So they miss, but that's probably perfectly fine for them. What are we supposed to do? I guess we do the one thing that we have available to us, which is do Urza Saga stuff. So our opponent might be waiting for this to tick down to get the Lion's Eye Diamond before they pop their Talisman. Alright, we've got nothing on from our opponent there. Okay. So the One Ring will protect us for a turn, which is not nothing. So we can get the Soulguide Lantern to try and cut off those lines, or we could get a Chrome Mox right now. So we have 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4, 5, 6 mana, which isn't enough to play the One Ring and something. So I think we just get the Soulguide Lantern here. I'll exile their Thoughtseize. And we can play out this Saga. So we want to get the One Ring ticking, I think. Just buys us a turn where our opponent can't Tendrils of Agony us. Sure, they're making a construct. Let's draw a card, see if we can find anything useful. Not particularly. Okay, our opponent's on relatively low resources, but the Wishcore Talisman can find them various engine cards. They could be running Ad Nauseam, and they can do that from 18. They might be able to kill us through our One Ring. A lot of these decks have ways of doing that, but I'm not necessarily sure if that's going to be the case here. Okay, they have a Lotus Petal off of their Urza Saga. Sorry, they got a Lion's Eye Diamond, then they played a Lotus Petal for Urza Saga. I don't think we die this turn, but the next turn's not looking great for us either. Broadside can do a big chunk of damage though. We can strip out this construct, and we'll see what happens. Oh, they're firing off the Wishcore Talisman, so they might have a way of getting through our One Ring protection. Ad Nauseam. So there is the Ad Nauseam, but they need to have a way that kills us through the One Ring here. Otherwise, they are almost certainly just going to die on the backswing to our Broadside Bombardier. Okay, so they don't have a Lion's Eye Diamond yet, which is one of the cards they need for this pile to work. Because there's enough lands in it that they can't empty their hand to turn on the Infernal Shoot. Okay, so now they have Lion's Eye Diamond. So they have plenty of Storm. It's just a case of, do they have an actual way of winning the game here? Burning Wish. That will probably do it, right? What is their way through there? We need to let them play it out. Right, they've revealed another card here. So they're very, very dead on the next turn. So what is your wish target that beats us? They've revealed another card. What are they looking for here? Surely this is enough. There's so much mana here. And they got plenty of red mana from Mox Opals. I don't know why they would take another card here. So they might have known that there wasn't anything that they could draw that would kill them, but they've shown us Beseech. And I have to imagine they have more than one of those in their deck. So they have land, Mox, Petal, Petal, Mox, Mox. That's 6 mana plus 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 3 from the Lion's Eye Diamond. That's 13. So that's plenty. And they got Cabal Ritual as well. We can't have 6 because we might need to use a Soulguide Lantern. Alright, they're getting black off of their Mox. And we're doing some Dark Ritualing. And another one. And the Cabal Ritual. They've certainly got lots of things in play. Mox. Just show us your Burning Wish thing that wins you the game. Can they generate enough mana for like... There's like a each opponent loses X life sort of card they can shoot it for. Alright, our opponent says it's a pretty weird line, so it's taking them a bit of time to get through it, and they're apologising, but you go off, opponent. Like, the Storm decks tend to not take up much clock until their go turn, and that's totally fine. So they're Wishclaw Talismaning. So another Lion's Eye Diamond. I can't remember what the card is called. Maybe Cut to Ribbons is the one. Burning Wish. So now we're going to see what it is. And they're cracking the Lion's Eye Diamonds. They got 15 mana here. Debt to the Deathless. What is this? Each opponent loses 2 times X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Huh. That's going to work through the One Ring. So we lose 22 life there. Now this is a matchup where the Null Rod actually does something. So I would like that in, please. We don't really need Furies. So that's a pretty easy swap. Fiery Confluence can sometimes do stuff here, so I'll take that as well. Probably don't need Pyrogoyf or the Lavaspur Boots. Are we supposed to board out some of our like Chrome Moxes because of the Null Rod? Are we supposed to board out the One Ring because of the Null Rod? Or do we try and use this to draw into the Null Rod or give us protection? That is something I am not really equipped to understand. Playing the turn 1 Null Rod is kind of important. I can see leaving the One Ring out and like having these Pyrogoyfs and get the Lavaspur. Well, the Lavaspur Boots is pretty bad on Null Rod as well, isn't it? We could just have a couple of Furies or some Faerie Macabres. I think we'll just keep in a couple of One Rings just in case we need to try and draw into something like a Null Rod when we don't have one already. Yeah, this house seems great. We'll keep this. There's actually a decision to make as to what we do on turn 1. So we could just play out the Null Rod. It's the most powerful hate piece we have. But that exposes us to them playing like a land and duressing or thought seizing away this Chalice. We could play the Chalice for 1 and then play the Null Rod, because the Null Rod shuts down all the zeros anyway. So this would shut down the Duresses, so we would be able to get the Null Rod in the following turn. But is giving our opponent a turn too much? That is a tough call. I guess if they take the Chalice, we can still Blood Moon, which is also not a terrible way of shutting down their Dark Rituals and things. Okay, we're getting Chrome Mox being played. So the other option was we play out a Chalice on 0. But I think when we have the Null Rod, I want the Chalice on 1. We can put this on 2, and that stops our opponent from ever being able to cast their tutory style effects, which is the way they probably get out of this. So I'm going to go for that, actually. So this is no Burning Wishes allowed to try and find an answer to our bits and pieces here. Alright, they've conceded. Fair enough. Let's go and just do it all over again, I suppose. There's an argument for having these Faerie Macabres over the One Rings, actually, just in case they do a Guy's Will line on turn 1. But I'm not really sure that the... Actually, no, they did show us a Guy's Will, I think, in that game. So they do have that. I don't think this is good enough. We can mulligan. Okay, this is a very hateful hand. We probably have to play this for 0. And then dump the Null Rods. Or maybe our opponent just goes like turn 1 Duress, sees our hand and goes, yikes. I guess we can get rid of one of the many Null Rods we have. We also have a threat in the Urza Saga which can close the game. We could also draw something that allows us to go off on to play a Null Rod on turn 1. Swamp, we're going to get Duress, we're going to get Thoughtseize. They probably take the Chalice here unless they have a way of blowing up a Null Rod. But they know they have a window where they can go off. So they just take this Chalice and try and go off on turn 2, I think. Right, they might be going this turn. No, they just took our Chalice and played out zeros in case we draw another Chalice. Makes sense. Okay, I guess we play out our Mountain. Do I play out this Chalice on 0 now? I think so. Next turn we play out Saga and Null Rod. And then we just try and ride these hate pieces to victory. Oh, Necro Dominance. I didn't have that one on my bingo card. So this is not going to be they draw everything this turn. This is going to be they gas up a little bit, and then we go to our turn. And then they gas up again if they need to. This is just going to be like a card draw spell. So I have to go clean up because their hand size is only 5. Well, I think the Null Rod is more powerful than anything else we can do here. And we can do a Chalice on 1 if we want to next turn. Slowly squeeze the life out of this game. They have an Urza Saga. That can be a win condition for them. Right, they're playing this into the Chalice. Surge node. So this can put counters on our Chalice. Although it can't because of the Null Rod. But that's why it's in their deck, in case you're wondering. I could just get a Blood Moon and shut down this Urza Saga plan. Just get this Blood Moon online. That could be what we do next turn. I think this turn we're just playing the Chalice out. On 1. So if our opponent starts making constructs, that could be awkward. So we'll try and work out what we're doing here. We needed to really find something that would allow us to get this Fable going. Okay, this doesn't make them constructs. That's huge. Why are they playing these out into exile? There's probably a reason, but I can't work out what it is. We're going to be drawing any cards with our deck dominance over there. Okay, we can play a Fable the Mirror Breaker or a Magus of the Moon this turn. I think that Fable is better because we need to actually clock our opponent here. It's going to get... No, Null Rod's not going to work with our Chrome Mox actually, is it? That's awkward. Okay, let's take out their Thoughtseize here. Just play out another Null Rod, I suppose. So our opponent gets to draw 1 more card this game. They do get to tutor off of the Saga, but I don't know if they can tutor anything useful. They might be able to get a Haywire Might and can just bash us down for 20 if we never find our mana. Alright, they've just had enough and they're scooping it up. I don't blame them. We had a lot of hate pieces in play. Eventually we're going to find mana and deploy a threat. Okay, the next turn we were going to be able to deploy threats. So. Alright, we are 2-2 now, so we've certainly turned it around in the back half of this league. Let's see if we can get a positive win rate going. How do we feel about this one? We can turn 1 Fable for a decent chunk of our resources. But I think that's okay, because this is very good at recouping resources. So we deploy this Chrome Mox. I think we're going to imprint the Fury. Okay, we're in with our Fable. So this can get us some treasure, which can allow us to play the One Ring on turn 2. This not getting countered makes me think that we're not going to be facing a counterspell here. If we get Thoughtseize and lose our One Ring, that is annoying. But we do have an Urza Saga, which can accrue a decent amount of value. Thoughtseize. Alright, you can take the best card in our deck from us. Good card is good. I will filter away this Ancient Tomb, please. It's another Saga, not the worst. And our Saga is going to be huge because we're going to be making loads of treasure. And at some point, we can start copying them as well with our Fable Mirrorbreaker. Okay, we're in a solid position, but we don't know what our opponent's deck is doing. If they're a combo deck, then all of this kind of means nothing. Entomb. Alright, we are in Combo Town. Archon of Cruelty. We're going to lose our Shaman token and our Urza Saga. Yep, that is pretty bad news for us. And every time they attack, we're going to lose a creature, which is far from ideal. So if we make a creature here, I guess we should play this on 0 just so we have more. Because like this is going to get discarded anyway. We may as well make our creature bigger. Yeah, I hate it, but here we are. Can we stop them from winning with this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we will have enough to beat this if they have nothing. And we draw like a land for our... Actually, do we need a land? We can... No, we get an artifact out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we go up to 12. So they're going to go up to 12 here. We might be able to beat this. Now, if our opponent has any spells, we just lose. But, you know, we've got a shot. Alright, let's get ourselves a little friend. Any interaction here and we lose. Hopefully the hand's just like counter spells so we can just ignore it. Blood Moon isn't the one here. Okay, Petty Theft. So we are 100% dead here. Cool. Okay, on to the sideboard games. The best deck in the format. We should have a plan here. Faerie Macabre seems like a good plan. Dead and Gone does do some interesting things here, but I don't think that's how we're fighting this. I think we're just using the Faerie Macabres here. The Fury doesn't seem great here. It can deal with a Tamiyo, but then so can the Pyrogoyfs. So maybe we just swap the Furies for the Faerie Macabres. Well, we do have Solgar Lantern as well. If our opponent doesn't have that Brazen Borrower there and they have nothing, maybe we could even get there. It's pretty close. Turn 1 Fable is fine and loots us towards other stuff. Like, I guess we keep it. Alright, our opponent's mulligan pretty deep, so we might be able to get away with this one. Chrome Mox, Imprinter, Sundering Eruption. Try this Fable. If they Force of Will, they're starting this game on 3 cards. Now, if those 3 cards are Black Source, Entomb, Reanimate, then we're in trouble. Okay, Wasteland, that's fine. Our hand is very land heavy here. A Lavaspur Boots. I will play out a mountain here and deploy the boots. We could have played the Sundering Eruption, but we might want to actually use this as a spell. So we can blow this up and they only get 1 colour. That could be quite interesting here, but we'll see what we draw. A Broadside Bombardiers. That is interesting enough, isn't it? Let's make a friend. Let's make him extra fast. He's got double haste now. And now he gets to be harder to remove. I don't think I'm flinging a Chrome Mox just yet. When we can get to a position where our opponent's life total is going to be too low that they can't reliably reanimate something, then I'm more inclined to throw some stuff. Just remember, paying the wards, they're going to have to pay 4 life here as well. Actually, no, they can pay 2 life, can't they? Because they've got black mana. What have we got here? I don't think it's worth Sundering Eruption our opponent here. And we'll play this out. I'll pass. Because more mana means if we draw the 1 ring and we crack the 1 ring for cards, we're going to have more mana to play what comes out of it. Tamiyo. Okay, we are probably losing to this now. What have we got for me, deck? Nothing of note. Cool. We are just bricking off a little bit here. Now, our opening hand wasn't the strongest. It was, we needed the Fable to do its thing. And they did have a counterspell for that. And then they also had an answer for the next thing we did. So it's not a bad multiply for our opponent, especially when they followed up with arguably the best card in Legacy right now. Another City of Traitors. Sure. We are very far behind. Yep, so we're getting bashed by a Tamiyo. And we are just a million miles behind now. They've completely undone their mulligan using this Tamiyo. I think it was fine that we kept our hand. We had a little bit of Wasteland insurance. We had a good turn 1 play before Dazes and stuff can come up. And now we're just so far behind. Yikes. Best deck in the format is the best deck in the format at the end of the day. So we're going to take a big chunk of our life here. And we got nothing to show for it. Cool. So 1 ring is becoming a worse and worse draw because we have less life to utilise with it. So we're on a 4-turn clock, but it could quite easily be a 3-turn clock. And the Ancient Tomb here does mess us up and make it into a 3-turn clock. Chalice of the Void. I guess I'll play this lock piece that doesn't do anything. Sure, get your brainstorms out while you can. Well, we resolved the spell, but our opponent now has a Planeswalker ticking up, as well as this Murktide that's going to kill us very quickly. Yep, cracking clues. Our deck is really bottomed out here. So we don't have Dead and Gone to deal with this, because we had to respect their graveyard plan. I think we had enough room to bring in the Dead and Gones, so we're doing the spells that we have here. I think we'll take out the Bowmaster mana land. Right, just pitching a Force of Negation. We should have waited till the second main phase so their mana burned off. But, okay, they're just bouncing our guy. Sure, that unlocks everything anyway. They can go and get back a Force of Negation if they want it. Oh, they can just play the Brazen Borrow, can't they? Yep, we got absolutely crushed. That was not even a game. We was annihilated there. So we finished this league with a pretty poor 2-3. Now, this is one of the better decks in the format right now. However, I can't seem to ever get it to work when I play it. It's not really my sort of jam. And sometimes you could say that we got a little bit unlucky, like our opponent mulling to 5, then having basically the 3 cards I needed in the Force of Will, then the Dismember, then the Tamiyo. Like, that's pretty unfortunate. But let's talk about this deck. So, obviously, what we're doing here is very, very powerful. You know, playing things ahead of curve has been a thing ever since the start of Magic, really. That's why people played like Mana Dorks and Mox and all sorts of stuff, because if you can play something earlier than you're supposed to have it, it's very good, because you break the fundamental mana system of the game. And we get to shut off entire decks with things like Chalice and Magus of the Moon, which can be really powerful. The problem is, you are very much at the mercy at the top of your deck. So, you know, we kept that hand in the last round where we had something to play on turn 1. We had mana, so we're relatively insulated against Wasteland. We're going to need to find a little bit of action, but we drew like 3 lands in a row, and then the game's just completely over. And we just had 0 agency from that point. So there is agency when playing this deck. There's basically 3 main parts of where you get to exhibit your play skill and you can improve with this deck. So the first one is mulliganing and learning how to mulligan with this deck and when you should be keeping and when you should be getting a new hand. Now, I'm not totally confident on my decisions with this deck because I don't really play this deck very much. The second thing you have is sideboarding and how you sideboard, because, you know, that's going to make a big difference to how you play. Like, are we supposed to have the Dead Gons in against the Reanimator deck? Can we afford to have Dead Gons and Faerie Macabres in our deck? Unsure. And then the other one is how you sequence your plays. So we definitely had some where we played a City of Traitors early to try and get our sort of foot in the door and slam the door on our opponent and just immediately go, okay, here's a Blood Moon. If you don't have anything, you lose the game. But they did have something, and then we ended up with a horrible mana base from that point onwards, and we couldn't really do enough. So there's definitely many things we could have done differently. But the thing about this deck that I find is the ceiling and the floor of this deck are quite far apart. So if you're like running on all cylinders and things are going well, this deck feels borderline unbeatable. But if you're kind of like struggling with some of your hands here and there, and you've got a few awkward ones, and yeah, you're going to have to mulligan here and there, then the floor can just be, you don't really do very much. And you can sort of bottom out, and then you're not really getting anywhere. Adding in 4 as a Saga, in my view, makes that more likely. So it gives you more action, but then it gives you more hands where you just have a bunch of colourless stuff, which kind of scares me a little bit playing this. I kind of preferred the Stompy decks back in the day when it was just a load of 3-drops, and we're just playing like goblins and smashing face. I can handle those sorts of decks a little bit better, where we're just applying huge amounts of pressure. And I've played Goblin Stompy on the channel relatively recently, like a couple of months ago. So that's more my sort of jam than this, because sometimes the prison pieces don't always come together, and you don't necessarily know the right number to put it on. Your opponent's going to have ways to play around it or through it, and it can be awkward. I think this deck lives and dies by how good the Blood Moon is in any given game. And sometimes it doesn't do anything, and sometimes it wins you the game. And sometimes you play against a mono blue colourless Cloud Post deck, and your Magus of the Moon isn't enough, and that feels really bad. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I played something a little bit out of my comfort zone today. I do like to try and explore all sorts of different archetypes where I can, but this is definitely a deck that you should know about, and you should probably play against people who are better at playing the deck than me if you want to be testing for Eternal Weekend with it. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo decks guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.